Hello, Solo Leveling fans. After witnessing the end of the Great War between the rulers won by Jinwoo, we enter the world of Solo Leveling Ragnarok. The story focuses on Sung Suho, the son of Jinwoo and chahae-in, who was born in a world that seems to have passed through a dark era. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The Great War has ended. The battle between the monarchs and the rulers, which nearly destroyed all of humanity, has finally reached its end. And amidst all the destruction, only one name stands at the pinnacle: Sung Jinwoo. The Hunter, once known as the weakest E rank, later became the Shadow Monarch, the ruler of shadows, or the ruler of the Undying Army. With that power, Jinwoo faced the monarchs one by one, and finally, he won a war that even the gods could not stop. But that victory came at a terrible price, because after it was all over, Sung Jinwoo disappeared. No one knows where he went. No one knows if he still lives. All that remains is a legend and a world slowly returning to peace. But that peace did not last forever. Far beyond the human universe, there existed beings even older than time itself. Beings known as the Outer Gods. They were not monarchs. They were not rulers. They were entities that transcended even both. Beings who created many universes. Beings who watched the world as humans watch a play. But after billions of years, these absolutes began to grow bored. Everything felt the same. War, destruction, and the rise of civilization. It was all just entertainment. But one day, something they never imagined happened. One of them was killed. And even more shocking, he was killed by his own creation. Instead of anger, the other absolutes were intrigued, because the power left behind by that being was too great to ignore. A power that could change the balance of the entire universe. And from then on, their attention was drawn to one world. The world where a human once defeated the monarchs. The world where the Shadow Monarch originated. Earth. Several years later, the world seemed normal again. Schools were bustling, the city was back to life. People were going about their lives again. But among those millions of people, there was one young man who was different. His name was Sung Suho, the son of Sung Jinwoo and chahae-in. But not many people knew that. To the world, Suho was just an ordinary teenager. He went to school, he studied, he joked around with his friends. It was as if he had no connection to the legend who once saved the world. But deep inside, Suho always felt something strange, a dormant power, as if waiting to be awakened. One day, Suho got into trouble with a naughty student. His name was Lunchal. Lunchal was known as a troublemaker at school, a bully, and that day, his target was Suho. With a sinister smile, Lunchal approached. He tried to provoke Suho, but Suho wasn't interested. He just wanted the day to end peacefully. But Lunchal wouldn't take no for an answer. He swung a punch, fast and hard. But before the punch could reach his face, Suho moved in a flash. He dodged, and with one simple movement, he kicked Lunchal in the face. Lunchal was sent flying backward. All the students who witnessed the incident were shocked. But the real surprise was just beginning. Lunchal's body suddenly radiated a strange energy. At that moment, Lunchal launched a counterattack against Suho. But fortunately, Suho was able to avoid Lunchal's blow, and with one punch, he destroyed the iron locker at school. That incident marked the beginning of a world change once again. Two years have passed. Suho is now a second-year college student. But the world has changed. Gates have begun to reappear. Monsters are attacking humans again, and humans with special powers are emerging. They are called Hunters. Hunters are tasked with clearing gates and protecting humans from monsters. To organize the Hunters, an organization called the Hunter Association was formed. This organization is led by Woo Jin Cho. But for Suho, all that feels distant. Since his parents disappeared, he often feels alone. He doesn't know what his purpose in life is, or what his role in this world is. But everything changes the day a gate appears near his campus. A gate suddenly appeared. The Hunters were immediately dispatched. One of them was Kim Jong-soo. But they soon realized something strange. The monsters inside the gate were different. They had humanoid forms. their bodies shrouded in blue flames. And even more terrifying, their attacks caused an infection. Anyone injured or bitten by them would slowly transform into the same monster. Disaster struck, and even Kim Jong-soo himself was infected. Suddenly, a blue flame appeared on Kim Jong-soo's right hand, causing him to lose consciousness and control of his body. Then, Kim Jong-soo's body began to transform into a humanoid monster. His eyes were blank, and he immediately attacked anyone nearby. Anyone bitten or scratched by Kim Jong-soo was immediately infected and transformed into a humanoid monster. The campus turned into a hellscape, and people scrambled for their lives. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos, Suho heard the commotion outside. They were immediately shocked and asked, "What exactly is going on, and why are they fighting each other?" Seeing the blue flames blazing in the monster-like eyes, Suho suspected maybe a dungeon break has occurred. However, instead of evacuating to a safer location, Suho chose to wait for help from the hunters and tried to ask a man named Talim, who happened to be an awakened hunter, to do something. However, since Talim lacked the courage to fight, being only an E-rank hunter, this decision unfortunately led to their own disaster. From across the building, the humanoid monster was poised to leap and attack them. In this dire situation, there was nothing they could do but run for their lives. One of Suho's friends even tried to ask for help, but instead of helping him, Suho abandoned him, helpless. However, in the midst of his escape, Suho realized, damn, why did I run and leave him in danger? If I'm like this, nothing will change. Suho hesitated. What could he do? He was just an ordinary human. But then a memory came to mind. The figure of his father, Sung Jin-woo, a hunter who always stood on the front lines, a hunter who never ran from a fight. And at that moment, Suho made a decision. He wouldn't run. As he tried to save his friend, time suddenly stopped. Everyone froze. The monster stopped moving, and in front of Suho, a blue window appeared, exactly like the system his father had. The text read, "Secret Quest, Courage of the Weak." If he accepted this quest, his life would never be the same again. Suho smiled faintly, and without hesitation, he pressed the accept button. And at that moment, Sung Suho officially became a player. With the power of the system, Suho began fighting monsters. He realized something surprising. Unlike ordinary hunters, Suho's strength could increase. He could level up and increase his stats. Every monster he defeated earned him points. Just like Sung Jin-woo's system, but his enemies were no ordinary monsters. One of them carried a weapon. The fight became brutal, and Suho was injured. His HP dropped to 50, 20, 10, until he was down to 1 HP. Even in that situation, Suho didn't give up. He stood his ground and kept fighting, because he knew he was the son of the Shadow Monarch. And just as the situation reached its most critical point, a dimensional rift appeared. Then a Shadow Warrior darted to Suho's aid, slashing his opponent's arm. Then, from the darkness, a very familiar figure emerged. A giant ant emanating a terrifying, murderous aura. It was Baru. Baru had been sent by Sung Jin-woo from another dimension to aid Suho. Upon seeing Suho, Baru immediately knelt. "Young master," Baru said. Using Baru's shadow powers, Baru rushed to heal Suho's wounds. And in one fell swoop, Baru destroyed the monster before them. Because, to Baru, no creature in this world should harm the son of the Shadow Monarch. After the defeat of the humanoid monster, Baru was the victor. In just a moment, with just one slash, the monster finally fell. On the other hand, before Suho could ask, Baru said something surprising. "The war isn't over yet. The true enemy has just begun to move," said Baru. In the distant sky, something was watching the world, a being even more powerful than Monarch, and one that had destroyed countless universes. Outer Gods. The name sounded familiar, but it also sent a chill down his spine. They weren't just enemies, they were beings who lived outside the laws of the universe, beings who treated the world as nothing more than a game. And this time, their target was Earth. But they didn't know one thing yet, that this world had a new inheritor of the shadow power, named Sung Suho, and the next war would be far greater than any before.